from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Pkakol, and this is Magnus Pkakol GVA. As always, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what this is all about. In view today, we continue with our discussion on the impact on households of the end of the economic recession in Nigeria. Does it mean anything to households that the recession is over? Should we be afraid that the recession can come back? So we continue with Professor David Okorafor of the Economics Department at the University of Abuja. But before that, in our hidden economics, how the attractive economies win. Now up next in our quick view, we rank countries by inflation. That's coming right up. The recent Nigeria recession may have ended, but the misery in households across the country may linger for a while as it takes continued significant growth for households to feel the impact of any economic recovery. During a recession, households are faced with higher unemployment rates and rising inflation. There is significant increases in the general price level. This condition is often referred to as stagflation or household economic misery. In this connection, which of the following OPEC member countries has had the most inflation rate since 2014? Ecuador, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Venezuela. Which of the following African OPEC countries has had the most stagflation since 2014? Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Libya, and Nigeria. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, our continued discussion on how exiting the economic recession in Nigeria may have any impact on households. But up next in our hidden economics, how attractive economies win.
Anywhere she enter, baby, they cause casala. Baby mo, sweetie mo, honey mo, baby mo, African flamingo, Ruana Plaku, Uwabu Wachuku, electric fire lady, fire baby fire, you know neck.
Chinedu Okoli, the great Nigerian singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and performer, popularly known as Flavor, in his hit song Baby Nayoka. So everyone is drooling after this girl. She is so attractive. She is the African flamingo, electric fire baby. Anywhere she enter, baby, they cause kasala. Everyone knows that attractive people draw attention. This is why people who want to be in show business make sure they are very attractive in one way or the other. And the attractiveness has to be competitive. Now bear in mind that attractiveness alone does not cause you to win. Even in a beauty pageant, you have to do more than just being attractive. You also have to show verbal skills and a good intelligence quotient. that is IQ. So folks, if you are running a business, organization, community, or country, you have to make sure it is attractive. Let's take a country as an example. Globally, all countries or economies are in competition. They are trying to attract a final pool of resources. So, the owners of resources will look for and be drawn by the most attractive economies. Everyone wants to go to the best looking places in the world. But guess what? Even these places must give people the best experience. That's why to be regarded as a good place for business or as a livable city or country, the place must be free of much bureaucracy, corruption, violence, and pollution. That means the place would have efficient markets and would produce or provide the goods and services people want. This all means that the place would also provide a good quality of life in jobs and relatively low prices. But to top it up, the place must be beautiful and attractive to promote a good economic experience for you. Our hidden economics for you.
Electric fire, lady. Fire, baby, fire. You know neck. You know neck. In your bum, you know neck. My Carolina, you know neck. Baby, na yoga. You know neck.
Before we start our discussion, here are our quick view answers. Venezuela is the OPEC member country that has had the highest average rate of inflation since 2014, with an average of 146% from 2014 to 2016. Libya is the African OPEC country that has had the most stagflation since 2014 at 32.3% when combining unemployment and inflation rates. For comments, adverts, and sponsorship, please see our information displayed on the screen. So let's continue from last time on what the end of the recent recession in Nigeria means to households and to the economy. We continue with Professor David Okorafor to discuss this. Professor Okorafor teaches economics at the University of Abuja. So please join us in our continued discussion with Professor David Okorafor. So in terms of competitiveness, the overall economy, where do we have our strengths today? If we're looking at economic competitiveness, global competitiveness for Nigeria, because as you've said, we're depending on things. We were talking before we came on air about how you were saying that we're dependent on the outside. And so for us to wean ourselves from that dependence, what will we need to do to be more competitive?
Well, there are so many things we can do to make us more competitive. Like I pointed out earlier on before we come to the studio.
Yes.
I said we need to look inward.
Yes.
Empower the people. If we want to go for agriculture, because that is where we have competitive advantage.
Yes.
Because the land is there. And not only just being a land, arable land. We don't need much, just a mere fertilizer. What they need is to up their understanding of modern way of doing farming, so that we can.
Who are they? The government or the farmers?
No, government does not farm.
Okay.
I have not seen any government farm anywhere.
No, but you said that we need to empower them. So
empower the people that are actually into farming.
That is the government.
Government should empower
with what?
they put with all that is needed.
Like what?
One fund.
Okay.
Some of them used to complain they don't have access to fertilizer.
Okay.
But the government program for now has made the whole thing look a bit simpler. That a basic farmer can access it, but it seems it's only working in the northern part of the country. Like if you go to the southern part, like in my own village, what they are into is cocoa. And then
where is what part of the
that is from
country?
Abia State side,
Okay.
from east.
Yes.
Many of them are used to cocoa.
Yes.
Then palm fronds, that's palm tree, and then food crops. You know, cocoa is cash crop.
Yes.
And then that was why I asked the question: that what are we actually sending outside for us to be able to get this? It's only cash crop. Like in Kano, in the olden days, we hear about a granite pyramid.
Yes.
So those things should be resuscitated again, whereby when we go into large-scale production of all this, we cannot send it because I still believe we have comparative advantage vis-a-vis with other nations. I was told that Malaysia came to Nigeria some years ago to borrow palm fruit
Yes.
from Nigeria. And today, they are far ahead of Nigeria. Why? So the simple answer is that the government looking inward, empowered them, took what they borrowed from Nigeria, and then added their own knowledge, and then before we know it, they're up ahead of us.
When it comes to access to capital, for example,
Yes.
financial resources, to buy, when I say capital,
Yeah,
actually,
capital implements.
I mean tools, yeah, but they have to first get the money to buy it.
Yes.
So when it comes to that, what do you think? Can we maintain an interest rate regime of under 10% when the inflation is 16% for farmers?
Of course, that calls for subsidization.
Okay, will you then subsidize every single farmer in the country?
If it's possible.
Can we afford
As far as the benefit,
yes,
we are sure of getting it. After I was told that even in US, they still subsidize their agriculture.
Yeah, but they have the agriculture as a share of GDP is like 1 point something. They have a huge non-agriculture part of GDP that can support agriculture. Here, agriculture is 22% of GDP.
Good. That is why we now have advantage.
The other sectors, are they able to support something that is 22% of GDP?
Since we have identified agriculture as the base for which our economy can thrive, nothing stops us from subsidizing it. As far as we know that the benefits is going to be so much that we can't in any way suffer loss. Nothing stops us from subsidizing it, making sure that every aspect of agriculture, whether it is a forestry, whether it is cash crop, whether it's food crop, when these things are put in place, and then the farmer is able to have access to implement that is required to promote agriculture, then the output will increase. Already I mentioned earlier.
What about public-private partnerships in agriculture? Are there any models that you have in your mind that we can employ
we talk about
to do that?
PPE, that's public-private partnership.
Yes.
It's unfortunate the private sector in Nigeria want to make a quick money.
Okay.
They are not interested in waiting and delaying for a period of time, because the time lag in agriculture is very much that you need patience.
Yeah. As we try to round up here, we've come out of recession. There are some people that are rejoicing that we're out of recession. Should we rejoice? What is the takeaway as far as a regular person is concerned? As somebody like yourself, now you're not a regular person, you're a professor at a university. What does it mean? Should we rejoice? Should we jump up and down and celebrate the end of recession in Nigeria at this time?
Well, it's unfortunate that in Nigeria, most often things are done with political interest rather than on the economic point of view. Economically, it's not for us to rejoice, because the average man in the street has not had any impact. In fact, the impact of it has not shown in his life. So there's no need for us to roll out our drums. It's not yet to grow. Just like the president himself acknowledged, until the common man see it reflected on his life, that is able to have access to food at a very affordable price, then we have not achieved anything. After all, what are we talking about? Only 0.55%, which means we are still at the danger zone. Anything can happen that we may slip back into recession. And that's why we must not rejoice. Yeah. But some political agents who cap on that and begin to make a political advantage. So, can you see the government is working, things are working. Things are not yet working. We should not see as if that we have achieved anything. Rather, we should look at it as we are just trying to...
Until we really get into an expansionary phase.
Good.
Is when we should be happy.
Good.
When would that be? What would we see so we know that the economy is on an expansionary path?
What we need to do again that
the households, what would they see?
I did not mention earlier was we need to look for a way to empower the people.
Okay.
The take-home pay of the workers is too poor. You know, the government introduced increase in fuel price, which automatically took a large chunk of the income, the real income, away from the people. Government hiked the electricity price. It also took a large chunk from the people's income. And that means the people have been downgraded to zero. So government need to empower them by increasing the salary of workers.
Ooh, inflation?
No.
Professor?
That will not create inflation.
Okay, why not?
It won't at all. The inflation we are suffering in Nigeria today is as a result of the actions of government, the policies the government took.
Okay.
That was what created that inflation. For instance, increasing the fuel price from 97 naira to 145. You know what that one means? Because everything in Nigeria is tied to fuel. There's nothing you can do without using fuel. The market woman talks about fuel because it has to move from one point to another. And when the government introduced this, I was expecting government to introduce a palliative, just like the previous government did. But government did not do anything.
They have the 5,000 naira conditional cash transfer program.
How many people? Ask any of your staff whether they are.
They have the Empower program.
All those things are theory.
Okay.
It doesn't directly reach out to the common man on the street. How many of our people who have been affected by this economic situation has been included in the 5,000 naira stipend that's been given to the people? Even the Empower. How many? Even some people are saying that it's 419. Yeah, because
they haven't got it.
They haven't got it.
But it's not.
So how many? Look at a population of Nigeria is about 180 million.
Yeah. And
out of that, you said you created a program. Like how many people have been affected? What percentage of Nigerians are benefiting from that? So that cannot be a yardstick for us to know that to say government has created palliative. There's no palliative. But if it was something like you introduce a urban mass transit, whether from to every local government, at least it will go a long way to affect everybody. People will feel it. And then you subsidize the cost of transportation. That will even affect the cost of moving food from the rural area where this food are produced to the cities. So that's why government must have to wake up and do something, particularly to empower the people, so that they will not say, where is the money? Just last week, I read NNPC saying that they paid within 2 months 24 trillion naira to government account in CBN. Then I asked, how much is our budget for the year? Just a mere 7 trillion. And then within 2 months, an agency of government said they have paid in 24 trillion naira. This was what it was aired in the AIT and even in NTA. So that means money should not be a major problem for them to empower the people to get the economy.
We'll talk about on a different date.
Thank you so much, sir.
Professor, I want to thank you so very much.
Thanks so much, sir. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
As we indicated last time, the recent economic recession in Nigeria was the first since 1991, when the economy dropped about 0.6% and continued to average well under 2% through 1999. So what happens now? The government needs to tell the people, as President Muhammadu Buhari has already stated, that there is still more work to be done by everyone. As the President has said, The results we want would not have come until households begin to see rising incomes and lower prices. Many households will have to see significant recovery in income in order to recover their self-worth, health, and well-being that may have been compromised from the recession. As we all know, reduced incomes lead to lower levels of spending and therefore of happiness for many households. With higher than normal prices, households face what economists call stagflation. Stagflation is a condition of household misery. It reflects the combined effect of inflation and unemployment. And this can be devastating to vulnerable households. This is why during recessions, households make drastic changes to their pre-recession lifestyles. Unfortunately, adjustments in this regard may have caused many families great pain, especially in explaining the situation to children who may not easily understand the financial implications affecting the family. And so, in the hope and anticipation of quick relief, households often believe that an announcement that the recession has ended brings also an end to the pain and misery they may have been going through. Unfortunately, this is not so. The end of the recession needs to be followed by significant economic recovery and expansion for households to be able to begin to feel good again. Fortunately, this can happen if, as we also said last time, all hands remain on deck and the government stays committed and with leadership. I'm Magnus Pkakol, and that's my view.
Magnus,